is Real to Real Podcast. Real stories, real sports. And here's your host, Wube Gabre.
Welcome to Real, another episode. And I'm always looking forward to these type of shows when you have former athletes that go into a second phase of their life and do something completely different than what they did at the beginning. And what I mean by that is our next guest, Cheran Ivery, who used to be Cheran Cordell, is our next guest today. And she didn't think she was loyal to be on here, but I'm trying to persuade her. I tried to persuade her as much as I could to come on. I'm so thankful and humbled that she decided to come on. Cheran, what's going on? Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. And, I'm here because you are solid on Team Hampton. So anything for a member of Team Hampton. So
I appreciate.
Hopefully I'll be interesting. I don't know why you think I would be, but I'm gonna give it to you real.
Well, we're gonna see. We're gonna tell everybody why this is an interesting topic and interesting guest. First, you grew up in Northern California, in Stanford University's backyard. I've been to Northern California. It's a beautiful place. So just talk about growing up in Northern California. What was that like?
Yeah, I grew up born in San Francisco, raised in East Palo Alto and Palo Alto. Those are actually two different cities. And both of my parents, my mom's from right outside of Philadelphia, and my dad is from southwestern Ohio. Right. And they met. My mom went to college in Ohio, and my mom ended up going to law school at Stanford. So they relocated in the early 70s so my mom could go to law school out there. And then once you get a taste of that weather coming from Ohio and Philly, they weren't trying to leave. So that's where I grew up.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to San Francisco, beautiful place, a lot of windy roads, up in a lot of hills, but awesome place. So you went to Gunn High School, but before that, you played basketball, and that's one of the reasons we're here to talk about your basketball career and other things. But when did you start playing basketball? And I heard you talk about earlier that you like sports and like basketball. So when did you start playing basketball? Who put the ball in your hands and made you, well, not made you, but it got you interested in playing?
I was about 7 years old, and I remember I went to a sleepover at another little girl's house, and the next morning she had to go to a basketball game. And so I'm just tagging along as the friend and like sitting down and watching and, mildly entertained. And one of the coaches, her coach, came up to me and said, young lady, would you like to play basketball? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, well, here's a form, take it back to your parents and, we can get you signed up. And it was for the Stanford Area Youth Basketball League. It was called Say Basketball in Palo Alto. And so that was my first foray. I got put on one of the Say teams and, traveled, didn't really know the rules, but just was having fun. And, once I kind of got down the footwork, the coach taught me for like a layup on the right hand and the left hand side.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
The next season, I was like a legit star.
There you go. Awesome.
So
awesome.
Yeah, started at 7 years old and just playing in the Say, rec leagues as a kid, and just really enjoyed it.
So you go from there to Gunn High School in Northern California. What was that transition like? Because you played high school ball, so all those years playing rec ball, you get to Gunn, and what was that whole experience like playing there?
Well, I mean, so you go from the rec leagues and, I had the same coach throughout rec. He always stuck with me. So I had a lot of consistent coaching. And my mom and dad saw my interest in basketball. So they also, sent me to summer camps and things like that. And then, I tried out and made my middle school team and started playing there. And it turns out my middle school coach was also the varsity high school coach at Gunn High School. So anyway, just in between all those seasons, we didn't have AAU the way it is now, like not even close.
Right.
So it was more like filling your summer with going to basketball camps that were like week long or 2 weeks long. So I did that all in between. And then got to high school and I had the same coach as middle school. So it wasn't like I was intimidated with new coaches. This is like somebody who knew me.
Easy transition, you know?
Yeah, easy transition. I tried out just assuming I would make the JV team. And my freshman year, he put me on varsity. Right. So I ended up playing varsity all 4 years. I started as a freshman and, you know, I just had a coach. I really had consistent coaching through those years. And Gunn High School is by no means like a powerhouse in basketball in the state of California. But, you know, we did okay. We did okay for our league. And most importantly, I made a lot of really good friendships. And I think, you know, the real value of playing a sport is learning how to win, learning how to lose, learning how to be on a team, play on a team, know your role, and, you know, learning how to lead.
Right. And that's a question I'm going to have for you later. I'm glad you alluded to that. Modern day, was that a powerhouse back then as it is now?
Oh yeah, that's like
it's always been a powerhouse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's up there near you. So you played 4 years, and again, you started as a freshman. Not many people start as a freshman, Cheran. I told you this would be interesting.
Well, I had a coach that really believed in me.
He didn't have to start. He didn't have to start you though.
But
you know
if people pour that into you, I think it brings things out of you, things that you know, I didn't expect it, but you know, it just, now you got to live up to it because someone is telling you can do it.
That's so true. That's so true. We're going to talk about your son in a minute. He's a pretty good basketball player as well. So you go from Northern California. I asked you this off air. Northern California, all the way to the East Coast to Cornell to upstate New York. Talk about did you get scholarship offers other than Cornell, and why did you end up choosing Cornell to play college ball and go there to get education as well?
So since my high school wasn't on the map or the radar in terms of being like a powerhouse in state championship circles.
Right.
One of the things my mom did for me during the summers, I didn't live in California. During the summer, she sent me and my sister to live with her parents outside of Philadelphia.
Nice.
So every summer for 2 months, I relocated to a place called Ardmore, Pennsylvania. And I went to camp out there. And one of the camps my mom found for me was called the Kathy Rush All-Star Camp. And it was in Doylestown, Pennsylvania at Delaware Valley State College. And now it's actually called, I think it's called Kathy Rush Future Stars All-Star Camp. But anyway, back in the early 90s, that camp, I mean, all the college scouts came to that camp. I mean, literally one of my counselors at camp one year was Dawn Staley, who, as you know, just won a national championship coaching University of South Carolina.
Right.
She was terrifying, by the way. She was like intense.
Oh, I know.
She was, you know, on loan from, I guess, kind of making the rounds of camps as a counselor during a break from, you know, UVA, where she was superstar. Yep. But so I attended the Kathy Rush All-Star Camp for 3 years. And once you're in that camp, I mean, there are tons of coaches that are coming through, and you have to submit, at least at the time, you had to submit like your high school transcript, so they knew what kind of student you were. You had to do a little write-up about things, your hobbies, like you had a whole profile that, all right, if a coach is watching you play and they're like, hey, I want to know more about this person, they can go pull all that information. Right. And then you start getting letters, you start getting recruited. And that's really how I got seen by colleges around the country and started being recruited. But for me, in my mind, I only wanted to go to an Ivy League school. I, for myself, had decided a long time ago, I decided much younger. I remember my mom telling me, who was to me the smartest person in the world, that she felt like she couldn't go to an Ivy League college, like it was out of her reach. And I was like mind blown by that, because my mom is a brilliant person she absolutely could have gone to an Ivy League college. And so I kind of internally decided, I'm going to go for her. I'm going to go live that and achieve that. And so in my mind, I was going to go to an Ivy League school. I just had to make it happen.
That's an awesome inspiration. I didn't know that story. That's a great. I didn't know you were going back and forth to Philly, you know, and you guys. So you get to Cornell. You get to Cornell. what was that whole experience like? You finally get to the Ivy League school that you wanted to go. You wanted to go to Ivy League, so you get there, and you're playing basketball, right? So
Yeah,
what
I
was
was
that?
fortunate enough
Yeah,
to be recruited. And, the Ivy League does not offer athletic scholarships.
right, right.
The best you can do is, get grant money.
Mhm.
Um, but, and a lot of times, a lot of the kids that go there their
They can
parents can
afford
afford
can
it.
afford it,
Um,
right? Yeah,
so, we're Division 1, but generally speaking, the powerhouse athletes are going to get scholarships at
Mhm.
big schools. And so while we're Division 1, we're not usually competitive really on the national NCAA like high level, although I
Right.
will say Cornell has made some appearances
Oh yeah.
um, in the tournament in the past. I
Oh
was
yeah.
not on one of the women's teams that made an appearance, but
Mm.
anytime whoever wins the Ivy League tournament each year automatically gets a seed.
To the tournament, right, right.
So when I got there, it was cold.
Upstate New York, right?
Like,
So
I was in shock. Like, how is the sun out and
right,
the temperature is like 7?
right,
You
right.
know,
It's
I don't
deceiving, right? So
understand.
deceiving. Yeah.
But yeah, it was really cold. Um, but it took some adjusting in terms of just building up my confidence academically,
Right.
um, and making sure, just believing in myself that I could do it.
Mhm.
But I got to tell you, once I really got comfortable with my teammates and how getting to know them, and I really thrive in a team environment.
Mhm. Mhm.
That really helped me. Like, I automatically, once I kind of relaxed and let them get to know me and got to know them, things really, really clicked. Um, and I was good. I mean, things fell into place academically, and then things fell into place for me in terms of the friendships
Right.
with my
That's what it's
teammates.
about. Yep.
And then I still think it's a tough transition to being like the star of your high school team. And I always felt when I came to college, I was so afraid. Like, I was afraid to try to be good, or afraid to,
Really? Wow.
I felt like I had to like wait my turn. And that's like
Right.
one of my regrets, is that I wish I had just been like, F it, like, I'm a
Yeah.
ball out.
Yeah,
And I
for sure.
really didn't. I
Yeah.
really did not.
And you were capable of doing that. You just, like you said, you were kind of passive in terms of just taking over because you had upperclassmen, I guess, in front of you, and you wanted to wait your
Yeah.
turn. So you had a great career at Cornell. Like you said, you weren't able to play any NCAA tournaments, but what's your mindset? Knowing you, I know you were thinking bigger picture after college, but like you eventually went to law school. So when did you start thinking about going to law school? Was it back when you were small, when your mom, we're going to talk about your mom in a minute, but was it back when you were younger growing up around your mom, or were you, when you got to Cornell, you started thinking, okay, I want to go to law school after this?
Oh, no, no, no. It's funny growing up, and I know we're going to talk about her later, but I never wanted to go into the law, and I always got asked that a lot. Like, oh,
Yeah.
do you want to be a judge like your mom, or do you
Yeah,
want to
for
be a
sure. I
lawyer
know
like
it.
your
Yeah.
mom? And I'd always say like, no, like, no
Right.
interest,
Right.
whatever. Um, but no, when I was at Cornell, actually, Cornell has 7 schools.
Okay.
One of which is the School of Hotel Administration, which is basically a business school that uses hotels as examples.
Mm.
That's what I like to say. And I went to the hotel school. So that was my focus. My degree is a Bachelor of Arts from the School of Hotel Administration with a
Wow.
concentration in law,
Right.
because obviously there are a lot of legal issues when you're dealing with real estate developments like
Mhm.
hotels, and business law. There's a lot of aspects to that.
Right.
But no, law school still wasn't on my mind. Actually, my senior year at Cornell, during the basketball season, I realized I was pregnant.
Oh, wow. With
And
your oldest daughter. Yeah.
my coach, it's funny, when I told her, she already knew. She just like, and so
Yeah.
she was, all 3 of them actually were really supportive,
Good. Good.
and just kind of there for me and
Mhm.
whatever I wanted to do.
Right.
And so I continued playing. I mean, I played out the rest of the season,
Mhm.
continuing to start, continuing to just, I got clearance from the doctor and I signed a waiver,
Mhm.
and continued to play. So we're talking 1997.
Yeah.
in December is when I learned I was pregnant. And then my daughter was born in August.
Wow.
So the season ended in March, graduated in May, and then she was born August 30th.
It's quick. Happened so fast. Yeah.
So law school really wasn't on my radar until I moved to Virginia following graduation and started working in the hotel industry for a developer that actually owned a lot of the oceanfront hotels on Atlantic Avenue.
Right. Okay.
And after about a year and a half, I realized
that's not
this is not going to get me where I need to go, and I have someone else that to support, and I want her to have the kind of life that I had.
Right.
So, and the opportunities that I had. So I took my little LSAT prep class after work, and then I hand wrote an application, or the application for William and Mary Law School, and put it in the mail.
And you passed the bar, you passed all the tests you needed to take to get into law school. You mentioned your mom earlier, and this is so awesome to talk about your mom. And you mentioned her about, like saying that she didn't think she could get into an Ivy League. But I want everybody to hear this part. Your mom was the first African-American female to be a judge, right? In Northern California.
Mm-hmm.
You're around that. You're inspired by that. I'm sure it's like you're just soaking it all in. What did that mean? I mean, when you got older, I'm sure you appreciated it more. But I mean, what does that mean to you and your family, that everything your mom accomplished back then?
Well, she became a judge when I was about 5. So literally that's like what I remember the most. I mean, prior to that, she was a lawyer, and she was the first attorney to even like hang a shingle in East Palo Alto, California, which is a primarily, or at least it was primarily African-American, Mexican-American community that was like separated from Palo Alto by this little footbridge. Really? Okay. This really little bridge, but it's almost like two different worlds. And my mom hung a shingle out as an attorney in East Palo Alto before she became a judge. So I just I grew up around that. And, also my grandparents were, business owners for 45 years. I just grew up around people that I feel like they were achievers, and I had a duty to like, do my best.
I mean, you just didn't want to let them, you didn't want to let them down too, right?
Yeah.
You wanted to, so that's awesome. When I heard that story, she's an inspiration. I mean, when I read that, I think I texted you. I was like, man, this is amazing. I didn't realize it. But
she's had a really great career, not only as a lawyer, then as a judge for many years, and then and in between there, she was an assistant dean at Stanford Law School, and was like key in recruiting a lot of minority students into the law school in the early 80s. Yeah. And then also she went on to be a vice provost at Stanford University.
Wow, nice.
After she retired from the bench, and then she took another position as the independent police auditor for the city of San Jose. And so now she's kind of retired, but
she's still helping out. Yeah.
She wrote a book.
Oh, okay.
She's on a book tour.
Awesome. Awesome. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. So you leave the hotel industry, right? And you're still in Virginia. So when did you start getting into the city attorney life, with the public, with the city government? When did that happen?
Well, I went to law school with my little one, Kayla. And while I was in law school during the summers, I actually clerked with like big private law firms.
Okay.
And I just honestly was just thinking dollars.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the time. And I made great money during the summers. But then my 3rd year of law school, I found out I was pregnant with my son.
The baller.
Who is now 18, Jayden. And so that really changed the trajectory of my plans. Okay. As he was due, his birthday, he was born August 12th, 2003, and I had to sit for the bar in July. Okay. So I was 9 months pregnant, and the bar at the time was only offered in Roanoke, Virginia. So there's this annual trek that all these law students make to Roanoke.
Wow.
So I'm like walking into the big like event hall that they host the students, and I'm literally 9 months pregnant, and my son was a 9-pound baby. So
huge.
people's mouths were like, oh my God. And, took my seat, and it's a 2-day exam. And I just prayed a lot at night that nothing, I didn't want to come out.
These next 2 days, right?
Yeah. And so after that, I was fortunate enough to pass the bar. Found out I passed. It's so funny. I found out I passed on my birthday in 2003.
Nice.
So,
that's no easy exam, by the way. If everybody ever wants to know, that's not an easy exam to pass.
It's not
easy.
A little stressful.
I'm sure.
And then after that, I stayed home with my son for like 6 months, and was just home with my taking care of Kayla and my son, and my husband at the time was working. But after that, I just kind of put a feeler out to do some temp work, and I got picked up to be a paralegal temp in the city attorney's office in Portsmouth.
Okay.
I was like, you know what, let me just show up. And so I did. I showed up. Everyone was really nice. I did what I was asked to do. I thought there were a lot of interesting things coming in the office. And I just had my head down and was working. And an attorney in the office said, Cheran, you should really consider going to law school. And so then I looked at him, I said, I did. And he said, what? And I said, well, yeah, I did. I went to law school.
I already did that.
Yeah, because I was hired by a paralegal. He didn't know anything about me. And so he was like, oh, so are you getting ready to take the bar again or what? And I was like, I passed the bar.
Yeah, I passed that.
And then he just, so you're a lawyer? And I was like, well, yeah. And
that's awesome. That's sweet.
He
that's nice.
Brought me into the city attorney's office, the city attorney, and was like, Tim, did you know Cheran is a lawyer? And so we sat down and we had this conversation. And at the end of it, Tim, the city attorney, Tim Oaksman, he was like, we'd really like you to be here. We'd love to bring you on as a lawyer in the office.
Wow. Just
and
that easy.
I was like, I think that'd be great. I like everyone here. The work is interesting. And then I got a job.
That's an awesome, cool story.
That's how I got into city government.
That easy, huh? You were just sitting there doing your job, doing your work.
Doing the paralegal work, and
that was it.
Trying to figure out in my head what my next move would be, but then this just kind of fell into my lap. And like I said, I didn't even know what a city attorney was when I was in law school.
Right.
I just found it fascinating. There were so many different aspects of the law going on in that office. I was just soaking it all in.
Let me ask you this, for myself as well, and for people who aren't familiar with law, you talked about this earlier, and I'm glad you mentioned it, about how sports taught you teamwork and camaraderie and just being resilient, hard work. What parallels do you think that law has with sports in terms of the things you mentioned earlier when you were playing for a team?
Well, I guess, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I view my colleagues as my team. Right. And, we're all working towards a common goal. On the basketball court, the common goal is winning the game. And we've got to support one another to get everybody's head in the right place, to get everybody pulling the oar in the same direction. And that's really the energy that I bring to my work, to my office, is, hey, I picked you, you're on my team. Right. I ride for my team. I need you to ride for me. What can I do to help you do your job better? And then, what can you do, to bring value to the team, because we need to be the best that we can be. I mean, that's just kind of how I view my office environment.
Absolutely.
And, sometimes people aren't a good fit on the team.
Right.
And you got to get traded.
Right.
Or you get cut.
But see, that's true. That's so true.
And you gotta know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
There you go. That's a good way to
I
put it.
really do hold tight to that aspect. Like, I ride for my team. I did on the basketball court, and I do in my office life.
Real quick, we talked about your mom. I got to mention your son. I actually followed your son when he was at Grassfield, when you told me, when I found out that was your son, I was more intrigued. Talk about him, because he's playing now at the apprentice school. He had a great career at Grassfield. And I always joke with you about, hey, you need to show him some of your old film. But you're like, he's not listening to me. But what's his whole deal right now with the apprentice? How's he doing?
He really loves it. He loves the program in terms of, it's basically kind of a hybrid of school, work, and almost some military aspects.
Okay.
So, the apprentice school is affiliated with Newport News Shipbuilding.
Right.
Getting an education that's paid for. He's actually making money. So
Good.
he's getting paid.
Good stuff.
To do the work. And, he has the opportunity to play basketball, which is something that he really loves and enjoys. And it's funny, his actual best sport growing up was soccer. I mean, he's a beast on the soccer field.
That was mine too. Yeah, that was mine too back in the day. Yep.
But he got the bug for, basketball. And,
Right.
I'm not going to hate on that.
Right.
So I've enjoyed watching him play and let him do his own thing and just try not to be overbearing.
Right.
But he's doing great, and it's a great program that I really didn't know much about until he told me about it, and I had to learn for myself. And it's a great value for a student, and it's a great value for parents.
It is. And I wasn't familiar with the apprentice school either. I mean, a few people that I know went there and played there, but they weren't really like specific on how it was constructed. But that's a great deal. If you can get in there and be successful, you have have something to look forward to in the future. It's a great program.
It's a whole application process, an interview, medical exams. I mean, it's not just sending off an application and getting in.
Right.
And then once you're in, your grades have to be at a certain level.
Yeah.
Your attendance has to be very on point.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're out. You're done. And so that structure, I think, honestly, was key for it. You can either really do well under it or do poorly. And I think for my son, so far, he's done really well with it.
That's great. All right, man. This has been great, Cheran. I mean, this is awesome. I knew it would be, but this is the last segment of the show where I just throw these are the quote unquote hard questions. All right, we're gonna have fun with it. I call this keeping it real. I just throw some quick hitters at you, and the first thing that comes to your mind, you just throw it back. Okay, you ready? We'll have some fun with it. You're in law, right? So what's your best legal drama TV show of all time?
Best legal drama TV show? Well, I mean, I'm 46. No Spring Chicken, but I grew up watching, I think on Thursday nights, LA Law.
LA Law, that's mine too.
LA Law.
That's it. Your proudest moment in your athletic career and in law, besides passing the bar, obviously that's a huge accomplishment. But what's your proudest moment in your athletic career and in law?
The proudest moment in my athletic career? Well, I think we were playing the Naval Academy.
Okay.
And we were not playing as well as we should have been or could have been. And I don't know what got into me, but like I was pissed.
Okay.
Like I was pissed at our own team. And so somehow I got tangled up in my arms with another young lady. And I don't know what happened to me, but I just was so frustrated. I picked her up and I put her down. And got a little technical.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And I kind of surprised myself with that level of
intensity.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Intensity. And I kind of turned and looked at the bench, and the coach took me out, and I was like, oh my God, tell me. And I sat down and I just kind of looked up, and she was like, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we needed. That's what I want to see. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, I can do that again.
After that, it did wake up the team.
It did
wake everybody up because, it was loud too. I mean, it was and she was okay.
Okay, that's good. That's the main thing. If she was okay.
But after that, the Naval Academy cadets, this is why it's my proudest moment, because I think they kind of make them come to all sports games.
They do. I think so, yeah.
Quite a few people in the stands. After that, every time I touched the ball, the rest of the game, they booed me. And I was like,
that's a sign of respect. That's a sign of respect.
I was like, okay, I see you.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. That's
So that
awesome.
was probably my proudest moment. My technical at the
I
Naval
love that.
Academy, and then being booed.
I love that story. What about in law though?
In law, I would say thus far my proudest moment was has been being appointed to be the Hampton City Attorney.
Awesome.
It was really the culmination of a career starting as an assistant city attorney and
Right.
like moving up in the city attorney world.
Right.
So interviewing for and being selected and appointed by the Hampton City Council to my job now.
Yep. You're doing a great job too, by the way. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
You talked about going to Stanford games growing up, right? So who was your favorite player and your favorite teams, and somebody maybe you emulated your game towards while you were playing?
I wouldn't say I emulated my game like her, but when I think of my youth and watching women's basketball, Jennifer Azzi is
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah.
that's who we went to see at the pavilion as
AZ was a
Um,
baller. She could play.
yeah,
Yeah.
like to me, that was when, I don't know, Stanford
Oh,
women's basketball, like
yeah.
really took off.
Mhm.
And, she was just a
Yeah.
superstar in our eyes. Um,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't say I emulated my game after
Yeah, because
her, but
she was
because
a
she's
guard.
a guard,
She was a guard. Yeah, she was a
yeah.
guard. Yeah.
But I mean, she was super exciting, super personable, because I
Yeah.
mean, as a little kid, you go to the games and you're like down on the
Right.
floor afterwards, just hoping to say hi or to get them to sign something. And Stanford women's basketball class acts all the way, and I'm sure it's still the case today. I mean, they're still the same coach is still there,
Yeah,
Tara Vanderveer.
Vanderbilt's still there. They went to the Final Four just
Yeah, they lost to
last week.
UConn.
Yeah, I saw that. That was a good game. And you would be great for this last question. I'm gonna end you on this one. That you would be a great. This would be a great question for you, because what you went through in law school and in college, advice you would give someone that wants to get into law and athletics. Because you said that you had your daughter young in college and in law school, you had to grind to get it done. Obviously work ethic is one of the things you'll probably say, but what's some other advice somebody that wants to get into law or even be a Division I basketball player?
Well, and so far as getting into the law, I think one of the key things that people need and that I was the beneficiary of is mentorship and
Right.
mentors and people
Right.
that really have your back and kind of that you can actually talk to about, like, what do I do next? What do I do now? And
Right.
my first mentor was someone in the career services office at William and Mary Law School, who I literally went to and said, I'm not someone who just wants a job. I have a child, like I need a job. Like, how can I
Exactly.
make myself more marketable? What kind of skills do I need for interviewing? Can you help me? And, Dean Robert Kaplan, he helped me. I mean, he helped me. I always had great jobs during my summers in law school. And I think it's because he prepared me, because by no means, I mean, I wasn't the number one student in the class. I mean, I was good, but, he had me well prepared, but it's because I went and asked.
Right.
So I think it really is seeking out people to have conversations, because more than likely they will. I'm happy to have a conversation with anyone that wants to go to law school and, help guide them down the path and be a
Right.
resource for them.
Right.
And I've been fortunate enough to encounter people like that along the way in my career and maintain those relationships. And it is critical to me, just to make me feel like I'm actually being successful in life, is to pay it forward. And so I'm doing that. And then insofar as basketball is concerned, honestly, I don't really know nowadays, because
Yeah, it's different.
things
It's
have
different.
changed so
Yeah,
much,
it has. It has.
with AAU and the
Yep.
way things are kind of done nowadays. I'm out of the loop.
It's different. It's completely different. I mean,
Yeah.
the one thing that I would add is what you mentioned earlier when you said you got to college and you kind of took a step back, maybe just be more aggressive, I guess. I mean, but that was just your personality, I guess, at the time. You just didn't want to step on anybody's
I think it's
toes.
the mindset of being so
Yeah.
far away from home,
Yeah,
not
for
really,
sure.
you didn't have smartphones, you could
Yeah.
FaceTime or talk to people. These were landline phones,
Right,
know,
right.
with a cord. So it was just,
Yeah, it was different.
I
Definitely
think I
different.
would have been a different person,
Right.
it in a later time. I would have
Absolutely.
handled things a little
Absolutely.
bit differently, but things played out the way they were meant to.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm still in touch with a lot of my teammates, and those are women that are truly have done amazing things in the world. They're continuing to, in careers, in motherhood, everything. So I love seeing them win, and I'm sure they feel the same for me.
I'm sure they do. You're doing amazing things as well, Cheran. I really appreciate this. I told you this would be good. I told you people are going to love this. No, I mean, this is a great story. Just you being a Division I basketball player, going into law, passing the ball. We could have did a podcast just on you passing the bar. I mean, that's a feat at itself. That's an amazing feat. And again, I really appreciate this. People will definitely want to hear this story. And again, truly humble that you decided to come on and take my word for it. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very flattered to have been asked. So thank you.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot, Cheran. Appreciate it.
All right.
This episode is sponsored by La Vida Agency. Protect, prepare, plan.